Once you've launched Unreal Engine 4, you'll be taken to the Unreal Project browser. This browser has two tabs, one for projects that you've already created and one tab that's for creating new projects, and this tab has a series of templates that you can base any new project on. Inside the new project tab you've also got two tabs, one for creating templates based on that are C++ templates and one for creating templates that are blueprint templates. We're going to be working with blueprint template, and we're just going to choose the basic blank one, which by the way is the template that they are working with in any of the epic basic introductory video series. Down here then you have the choice of which platform you're going to target, and we're just going to leave it on desktop console. You have a choice of the quality, and we're going to leave it on maximum, and you also have a choice of whether you want to include starter content or not include starter content. Including starter content does really increase your file size of your project file, but it does have some quite useful things in there, particularly when you're starting out and you want to play around. So it's got lots of materials, some basic shapes, some architectural things, etc. Next thing you're going to want to do is choose where to save your project, and Unreal will have created a Unreal Projects folder for you inside Documents. If that's not where you want to save it, then you want to click on these three little dots here, and that will open up a navigation pane, but I'm happy to save it there. And lastly, you just want to give your project a title. Just be aware that if you type any characters that it doesn't accept in a name, you'll get a little warning box popping up and you won't be able to create your project. So if the Create Project button is grayed out, just check out whether you've got any errors happening there. So now we'll just click Create Project. So once your example blank project has opened, this is what your screen should look something like. You may see more or less of various things depending on the size of your screen. So just to quickly go through what these different areas of the Unreal Editor are. Down the bottom you have what's called a content browser, and this is where any content that you have will be placed. And because we said yes to starter content, what we have in here is a folder called starter content. This area here is known as the viewport, and that's where you can see the level that you're creating and all of the elements in your level, and you can navigate around that using various keys that we'll go into later. On the left here you've got your modes panel, and this has various elements that you can add to your scene, like for example lights, basic shapes for example, and geometry brushes. Across the top here in your modes panel you've got various different tabs. So there's the place tab, which has all the elements I just shown you. You've got paint, you've got landscape, and there's one further here that's not so visible, so I can adjust this here so that you can, actually there's two more. There's foliage, and if I scrub it up more, we've got geometry editing. The one you'll most be using at the beginning is this place tab. On the right hand side here you have an outliner of everything that's inside your scene, and if you select something within the scene you'll see that it gets highlighted in this outliner, and down here you get a details panel that gives you various details that allow you to transform that object in some way. Across the top you've got a toolbar of some important things that you'll be using all the time. For example, you can save your project, you can build your projects, which just means that you're going to build the look of all the lighting and the materials that are in it. You can also do what's called play your project, which if you press play it will put you into game mode, and you'll be able to walk around the level that you're creating in the same way as if you were playing the game. One quick thing in terms of navigating down in the content browser. So we've got starter content here. If I want to get inside that folder, I just need to double click on the folder here, and you can see it opens up, and now I've got a whole range of elements here like architecture, audio, etc., shapes, and again I can double click to get inside one of those folders. If you need a bit more screen real estate, you can actually drag and drop any of these things into different places. So for example, I can grab my content browser just by grabbing the tab there and pick it up, and if I drag, see how as I hold it over various elements in my interface, I'm getting different options for where I could choose to dock it. So I'm going to dock it right down the bottom here, but you can also dock it right up the top, which means you'll get two big tabs across the top, but I'm just going to dock it right down here. If you want to save your level, you just go to the File menu and choose Save All, or you can click on this Save button. Do be aware that within Unreal Engine 4, when you're in certain of the sub-editors, there will also be save buttons, but those save buttons are just for the individual sub-editor and not for the whole level. To save the whole level, you want to always be doing the Save All one, or be out in the main editor and be clicking on this Save button here. One last thing to talk about is the structure of an Unreal 4 project folder. If you quit out of Unreal Engine now and take a look wherever you saved your project, you'll find a folder there with the same name as your project. If you open up that folder, what you'll see is a structure similar to this. Now, it's important to note that your project is that folder and everything in it. So if you're backing up, you want to back up that whole folder. Unreal Engine 4 projects are quite big in size, so this project, which doesn't have that much going on in it already, is already 700 megabytes in size, and that's partly because we added starter content. But if you look at the sizes of the different folders, you'll see that the actual project file is quite tiny, and that's because it's mainly just code, whereas any of the content that you're creating and the materials that you're creating are going into this content folder, and you can see that that's where the majority of the size is. When you do auto saves and backup saves within Unreal Engine 4, they go here in this folder called Saved, and the other two folders just have some configuration settings. So whatever you do, do not back up your project by just backing up this uproject file. To safely back up your project, you need to back up the whole project folder.